Hello, how's everybody doing today? So, to start, I'm actually a bit relieved that the stream is working this time. I know last week we had a lot of technical issues, and I ended up having to start the stream or start the video just as a regular recording. So, it's good to see that the stream's working and we're back to normal. So to start, I just want to thank everybody for joining me as I talk about new technology and the future of business. So before I get started, definitely want to say, if you enjoy the video, like, subscribe, definitely comment on the video. Let us know, what you want to see from this stream, possibly, in the quick and foreseeable future. As always, this is Jamie White with Supplier T News, and we bring you the latest news as it pertains to diversity, supplier diversity, and small business. But for today, as I stated, I want to talk to you about new technology and the future of small business. Now we've written a couple of articles focusing on new and innovative technologies. A few that we've highlighted over the past couple of, I guess, the past week or so has included driverless cars, 3D printing, things such as automation, uh, the new what is it? For some reason now I can only think of e-learning right now, but e-finance, if you will. So essentially getting online lending through online portals and organizations and things like that. Uh, in addition to those articles that we've written, there's other technologies out there as well that are changing the landscape of how we're doing business. So what I wanted to focus today on is, just highlighting some of those technologies and discussing how they may benefit or even harm small business growth as we move towards the future. So let's go ahead and let's get started. The first thing I want to talk to everyone about is the idea of 3D printing. Now, and again, you can check out the article on suppliertnews.com, but the interesting fact with 3D printing is it's still in its early stages of technological advancement, if you will. It's almost like when cell phones first came out in like the 80s, and everybody thought, "Oh man, this is as good as it gets." And now here we are, you know, 30 years later, and the phones that we're using now are just their capability is second to none when it comes to comparing it to a 80s cell phone. And that's where we're at with 3D printing. Just think about that. We're pretty much in the 80s of 3D printing. And 20, 30 years from now, that technology is going to be truly amazing. One of the things that we discussed in the article was the fact that it's doing great things for things such as like braces. So you're able to essentially print off braces so that people can use them for your teeth and help your teeth correct the alignment in your teeth. So we're looking at with that potential or not potential, but with that technology being being capable right now, that's definitely going to cut costs, make things a lot more easier and quicker to create as that technology expands. And again, that big, I think those are the two big things here is lowering the cost because now it's a lot easier to create things like that, as well as making or the finished product, if you will, getting to the consumer a lot quicker. So 3D printing is definitely something that people need to be looking at, in particular if you're in So it's going to be used. It's used for different industries. You really have to check your industry to see exactly how where that technology is today and how useful it is right now. Because again, we're still in that early stages. But I do urge every industry to take a look and see exactly how it can be used for you. Because again, it's still in its early stages, so we're still trying to figure out exactly the best cases to use it. But we do know that it's growing, and it has the potential to transform any industry. For example, hospitals and dentistry. Uh, so definitely wanted to highlight that. Next up, and the big one, and I think we're hearing about this in the news constantly, is driverless cars. That innovative technology is here. Um, they're still working through the kinks. I think crazy as I'm saying this. I think this past week, I know for sure. Can't remember what day, but they were testing out a driverless car. I think it was either Google or Uber It actually got in a crash. So they're still working out the kinks. To knowing exactly how it's going to go, but the technology is here and it's working. Now, I know you're probably saying, but you just said it crashed. Well, although it crashed, we do know that a driverless car can take you from point A to point B correctly. Now, what is the percentage of that happening? Maybe it's around 80%, 60%, 50%. I'm not exactly sure currently, but it does work and it can get you from point A to point B. And these are just the struggles with any new technology. So I'm not too worried about this recent crash, but the only thing that it does tell us that we need to know is that there are still adjustments and upgrades that need to be made. But again, that technology is here, and that is looking to transform a lot of things. Now, for example, let's go back to Uber, the Uber example. Uber is trying to create a fleet of driverless cars. So, and let's just be honest here, so they don't have to pay individuals to actually drive these cars. That would ridiculously decrease their costs if they're able to just create, or not create, but utilize driverless technology for various cars. They would have a high front end cost because they'd have to buy the cars and then technology, insure those cars and whatnot. So on the front end it would be a high cost, but let's say it works perfectly today, 5-10 years from now, they're fine. In addition to that, what I've been hearing from people who have kids right now, for example, is that kids are driving less and less. And the reason being is because you have options like Uber, which can take you from, again, point A to point B relatively cheaply. Um, I think I just went out, I used Uber the other day to go about a 10-15 minute drive, cost me $6. So imagine if what we're seeing here is because of this new technology, that cost is probably going to go down even further. Which again, it's great for Uber, but unfortunately, the employees, especially the people who are driving cars right now, they may see their jobs taken away, which is really unfortunate. Um, but if you're invested in Uber, I'd say over the next at least 5 years, we're looking at potential high growth here. Now, in addition to that, let's talk about driverless cars for trucks. That's also another thing that they're trying to use driverless technology for. Now, the interesting thing about that is, so currently, trucks, you have truckers driving, 14, 15, 16 hours, going from point A to point B. Because of that, you do get a relatively normal amount of I don't want to say normal, but let me rephrase that. You do get issues that happen where truckers go to sleep on the road. Now I don't want to make it seem like this happens you know to 80% of truckers. No, that no, it's not. It's generally not that high. However, it is something that people have to be aware of, especially when they're getting insurance on a company that has truckers. Um, because of that, what we're seeing again is this driverless cars phenomenon looking to overtake truckers, and that is a big thing moving into the future. Now, as we're talking about driverless cars and technology for small businesses, if you run like a logistics company, which I know a lot of, so this is definitely pertinent to those individuals. When although I think I'm being overzealous in the amount of jobs that are going to be taking away immediately. So even if you have a driverless car, there will still be people in the car, right? Monitoring, what's going on. Maybe you've got some specifically when we're talking about truckers. Maybe you have some, uh, important items or products in the back of the truck that you want somebody to maybe check on, make sure that it gets there, so that you can have a human person, again, checking and maintaining the stuff in the truck. So there would still be, unlike the Uber car, which I mean, that one's probably going to eliminate a lot of jobs, just because most people are using Uber just to drive short distances. And I think once the technology gets to where it needs to be, it can handle those quick drives pretty easily. But for truckers, since we're dealing with 14, 15, 16 hours, you probably want truckers may also need to be, well, they already are, in a sense, like mechanics and whatnot. But you may want to have that type of person. They may need to learn an additional skill now, so they can maintain that driverless piece, that driverless technology. And hey, what happens if a tire, hits a nail, and now you have to change the tire. So things like that. So truckers will still be needed because of the long distances that you're traveling. You will need somebody on hand to handle anything that may happen. But even still, again, we're talking about new skill sets that truckers will have to learn moving into the future, and that's something that logistics companies and transportation companies need to be prepared for, particularly if they're small businesses looking at these new technologies. Now, there's other types of technologies that's coming on as well. For example, automation, big data. Let me think of a couple of ones. Oh, of course, virtual reality, and then smart home technology. So these are also some other things we haven't written on them just yet. Well, we've written on virtual reality. Virtual reality, I've given a couple of points on it, but the from so there's going to be a lot that can be done with virtual reality, obviously, and I'm not just talking about the video game industry, where okay, hey, we've got this new game coming out, let's use it for that. One of the things that Microsoft and Sony have done an excellent job of, if they've re they've changed the way people view like the Xbox and the PlayStation. Um, for example, the Xbox in particular is a home entertainment system now. You can use that to, you know, go to Netflix, or excuse me, not go to watch Netflix, watch shows, uh, do a lot of stuff, control essentially your entire entertainment system. I mean, that's kind of a bad um, way to phrase it, but it's true. Like this is a home entertainment system now. So these video games have gone to the next level, and virtual reality is looking to go even further with that. Now, moving past the whole video game entertainment scenario, what I've been hearing is that virtual reality, as we're taking this to the next step, will also be used in business meetings, for example. Uh, and the example that I give every time is that currently you may have, a business partner in Australia or Europe, and you're living in America, or Mexico, wherever. Now with virtual reality, it will be, once you put on that VR headset, it will be as if you guys are all in the same room. So now you can do collaborative efforts with the VR, making it seem as if you guys are in the same room, which is going to make uh, productivity increase a lot, because working with somebody, over the internet, even if it's through Skype, is a lot different than having them in that room. And trust me, I've worked with people on Skype, I work with people over the phone, but nothing is better than having that person in the room. Because it's just a lot. You can just bounce ideas off of each other. You can get work done a lot easier when they're in the room. So the fact that VR is going to help with that, I think that's phenomenal. And There's going to be other things that VR can do that, quite honestly, the normal people haven't even considered. But once that comes, that's going to be definitely be a game changer. And as the technology gets better, it's going to get cheaper, and it's going to waterfall down to small businesses. So VR is definitely something that the people who are the early adopters, I think, are going to, as long as they do it correctly and they know where they want to take it, the early adopters are really going to be, at the forefront of its success when it happens. So that's something that small businesses need to be aware of. The next thing is smart home technology, which um, we've seen some things from here and there. It's been pretty big for the past couple of years. Uh, the biggest thing is that there's so right now in terms of the industry, if you will, there are a couple of big players, but there's definitely room for improvement. It takes a because if you're living in a house, for example, it takes a lot to set everything up. And when I say takes a lot, I mean uh, having everything connect. It's similar to like kind of like when you're moving. Um, and when you're moving, you have to pack everything up, then you have to unpack and figure out, okay, I want this to go here. I want this bed to go here, and it's just that time. Uh, but in addition to that, with this new home technology, that's the only downside to it is kind of figuring out exactly what you want and how you want it to respond, and what you want it to do. But once it's set up, it's pretty good. And obviously, that smart home technology is the future. I think we can all agree with that, where you can just press a button and doors open, and maybe press a button, which is happening right now. Press a button and showers start, play music just by talking to it. We're seeing the initial or the first stages of that with simple things such as when you can talk to your phone or even your laptop or whatever. So these are the initial stages, but as we grow and as we expand on that, it's gonna just again expand to house technology, laundry, washing machines, stoves, whatever appliances that you have in your home. It's definitely going to expand on that. A lot of opportunity there. Nobody's really taking the complete advantage of that because it is expensive, um, and could be a hard sell for people who aren't familiar with it. But again, as we're evolving, especially the generation who's coming up right now, I think that's going to be a very nice opportunity as they get older. Another piece I want to talk to you about uh, before we get into automation is artificial intelligence. Again, we're talking about new technology. Artificial intelligence or AI, it's coming. I feel like for me particularly, whenever I talk about AI, I completely, or I immediately think of the Matrix, which is kind of funny, but it's coming, and it's coming quicker than I think a lot of people realize. Just the people not people, but just the things that I've been reading from quote unquote experts in the AI field, when it happens, it's going to be now this one's just clear cut. It's going to be a huge job eliminator. So I know right now they're trying to figure out ways to figure out to be completely, direct to you guys, figuring out how humans can be useful once artificial intelligence gets to the point where it can do everything we can do, doesn't need sleep, and can do it for a fraction of the cost. Um, I talked about how artificial intelligence is the next century's immigration, in that right now people, hey, let's be honest here, people blame immigrants for taking jobs. We're talking about when jobs go overseas, people blame, hey, why is my job going to Mexico or some Asian country for a lot less. What we're going to see with artificial intelligence is that, I mean, it's just going to get worse. If you think it's bad now in terms of jobs going overseas or going to or not illegal. I don't want to say that, but going to immigrants, new people within in America. When we get to artificial intelligence, as I'm reading these articles. Again, this, you think it's bad now, that's nothing compared to what it's going to be. Because again, you got machines that can work for 24 hours, lead, that need little to no maintenance, doing everything that we can do. And we've seen it now with machines that have taken over jobs, in different industries. But now we've got AI it's going to be even smarter, and can work even longer, and can figure out things better than us. Uh, that's something that, I don't even want to talk about small business, but just in general, businesses, it's going to make businesses a lot more efficient, and a lot more profitable. But at what cost? I have a theory that once artificial intelligence gets to a certain point, I think legislation is going to be passed where they're going to mandate that you can only use, 20% of your workforce can be AI, but the rest, the 80% has to be human capital. So I do believe that that's probably going to be something that comes as we move further down the line. But it is something that has to be figured out, because one of the things that we still don't have a really good idea about in terms of legislation, in terms of rules, for example, is like the internet. uh, it's really hard to gauge and figure out exactly what privacy, what's not, security, things like that. And artificial intelligence may be another. We don't really know exactly how to legislate this. Uh, but I do think at the very end, it will be legislation passed that says, hey, again, only 20% of your workforce can be artificial intelligence and whatnot, to help save human jobs. But we're going a little bit further down the line in terms of that type of technology. But I won't, because we do want to focus on small business here. So moving back towards that small business piece, and I want to end with this, and it's automation. I think small businesses are in a very good position when it comes to automation, because with big corporations, they have a lot of information, big data, or maybe employees that they're trying to maybe track and get information on. And they have a lot of processes that they're trying to make a lot simpler and get done a lot faster. And if you're a small business and you can offer a way to automate as many processes as possible, or cut down on the time that it takes, I think you have a huge competitive advantage, and a huge opportunity ahead of you. Uh, I know technology that offers that is generally seen as a step forward, and hey, it can make you a lot of money. So if you're a business and you're looking for ways to be efficient and to get into large corporations, figuring out processes, whatever that may be, and making them simpler, and automating them at the click of a button if you can, that is definitely the future. That's the present actually, but that is the future, specifically as well. Making things simpler, easier, and done at just a few clicks. Because the less clicks you can get something done, the better. So that's pretty much it from Supplier T News. I just wanted to hone in on a couple of new technologies, how it's going to affect business, how it's going to affect you, what you need to be looking for in terms of maybe a new skill set that you might need to want to look into learning, and things like that. So first off, if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. And as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and as always, tell us what you think. Don't forget to check us out on suppliertnews.com, and follow us on Twitter at GDN Network. So thank you for your time. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.